Once again, good morning all. I'd like to welcome us to this segment of our engagement this morning, Project Management Principles for Missions and Technology. So it is my belief that at the end of this session, we would see things a little differently and approach life with more efficiency. What's the role of a project manager? Because if you have to manage a project, then there should be someone to manage it. Am I correct? Am I correct? So that's the role of a project manager. And the project manager must be effective. He has two key stakeholders. You have the internal ones and you have the what? External ones. Now, internal, you will be looking at things like developing the project schedule, recruiting and training, recruiting team members that will help him to deliver that project, and as well as all the tools he needs, including monitoring what he's doing to check against what the initial objective is, because you could also derail. Those controls, those monitoring, they help you to stay on course to deliver the objective. Now, that is what a project manager does. However, he also has external responsibilities. He has what? External responsibilities. And that's like reporting the status of the project to the stakeholders. For instance, let me bring it home. Let's say the government wants to construct a road. Do you consider that a project? Does it qualify as a project? Okay, so the chief executive of the state is the governor. A project engineer is assigned to that project. As he's working on that project, he will be reporting the status to who? To the governor, right? That this is where we are. He will be reporting that status regularly. He also needs to, communicate clearly to the stakeholders. Those who will benefit from the project, the communities and all of that, they need to be clearly communicated to that this is how well we are doing in the project. As of today, we are at 30% of the project. Do you get the point? Do you get it? So he needs to manage both the internal stakeholders and the external what? Stakeholders. Now, I just want to draw our attention that project management is so important that there is a body saddled with the responsibility of managing it. There are different bodies, but I'll be particular about the Project Management Institute. The Project Management what? Institute. They certify project managers that, okay, yes, you have that knowledge and you have the experience and practice, and they certify you as a project manager. That could make a lot of difference for an individual, in your career as well, because it's highly respected. So there are 9 knowledge areas that you should know in project management. And those 9 knowledge areas, they are listed here. What are they? Please, let's list them together, if you can see the screen. What's the first one? Scope. What's the second one? The third? Cost. The fourth? The fifth? Sixth? 7? 8? 9? Integration. Of all these ones we listed now, please we are going to make this very easy for us to understand and appreciate. You must take something. You must take something from what? From this discussion. So look at these 9 areas. That is what, even if you want to qualify as a certified project engineer, you you will be tested in these 9 areas. Are we familiar with scope is? Do we know what a scope is? Anybody with a challenge with what a scope is? That, okay. Yes, the meaning of scope on a project, for instance. Okay. You have a challenge with it. Okay. So can somebody help us in this class? What is the scope of a project? Okay. So, yes, sir.
The extent of at least something should be done.
Please, let's give him a hand of applause. Let's forget about all the grammar. It's just what? The extent. If the governor is giving a road, for instance, okay, let's take, for instance, IITA, right? When they were to build it, the scope was defined. This is one of the scope. Everything that you have in this premises, all of it that you call IITA, that is what? That is the scope. The IITA does not extend to challenge bus stop, does it? So that is the scope. I hope we get it very clear. Now, what is the other element there? Time. Does anyone have any problem with time? Will you understand time? Every project must have a beginning and an end. Every project must have what? A beginning and an end. It does not run forever. When you finish a project, you turn it over to operations. We are using this facility. It's no longer in the project phase. It is now in what? Operations. It's now in what? Operations. When they build a road, by the time they commission it and people begin to use it, it has moved into what? Operations. So a project has a defined time. Start and what? Finish. Now, let's look at the next one. Cost. Earlier, we were told about cost. We know what cost is. Break it down to naira, dollars, name it whichever way. That is what the cost is. The materials you will use for the project, the equipment, the people, the resources, they cost money, right? So when you want to do a project, just as the Lord said, before you build a house, you must first of all what? You must first of all do what? Because you may start and never finish. So you need to know the cost. If you don't have the resources to do it, you scale it down to what your resources can accomplish. That's why probably this facility does not extend all the way to Lagos. Otherwise, it's desirable. We would like to have everywhere from here to Lagos looking like this. But there's a limitation, cost, a constraint. Now, let's look again at quality. Quality, we all know what quality is. When you do a project, the quality is defined. And you monitor quality throughout the project. You monitor what? Quality throughout the what? Project. Otherwise, the sponsor of the project or the one who gave out the project, he says he wants apple. Yeah, you say, orange is big. Let me deliver orange to the person. Have you met the objective? Have you met the objective? So that is where cost comes in. We've talked about human resources. We've talked about communication, right? And then we talk of what? Risk. We talk of what? Risk. Every project, you must identify the risk from the beginning. You must what? Identify the risk. When you identify the risk in a project, this is what it does for you. You will be able to sit down at that planning phase and put in place what they call mitigations. What they call what? Mitigations, to reduce that risk or eliminate the risk completely. There are risks that can make a project to be abandoned. There are risks that can make what? A project to be abandoned. Because when you start the project and the risk happens, is so sizable, people may what? Abandon the project. There was a project that men wanted to do early in human development, yes. the Tower of where? Babel. It was abandoned. I will identify a risk as well with that because it ran contrary to the goals of God. So it was abandoned. So you need to identify your risk and put the mitigation in place. When you put the mitigation in place, it will enable you to overcome that risk and be able to deliver your project. You may be even building a road, you have to cross a river. You have to cross that road needs to cross a river. Are there no risks associated with that? You need to define those risks early in that project. Then we talked about procurement. You need to buy all the things you need, all the resources, whether they are human, equipment, or what have you, pay labor, all of those ones comes under procurement. Then you talk of integration. This integration is very, very important. Integration is what? Very, very important. Because everything we have mentioned from scope, time, cost, all the way down, you need to integrate them. They need to come together in such a manner that you deliver the unique product, meeting the specifications of that product. That is what integration does. How do you integrate cost, quality, time, put it efficiently together? That is what integration talks about. Now, let's pause for a moment. As you do all of these, I want us to step back one moment and imagine when this area was virgin land, forests, trees. And someone or a group of persons came together that let's do the IITA here, right? Right? Now, I want you to imagine, by the time they gave that job to a project team to manage, they broke down every aspect that will be done. They broke it down into discrete steps. Into what? Discrete steps. Manageable steps. Scalable steps. They break it down. And as they break it down, that is what you have as your what? Work breakdown structure. This is what we go into planning or developing a schedule. That we're going to developing what? A schedule. That schedule is what you will now be tracking and reporting against to generate whatever reports you want to communicate to your stakeholders. So we've laid the foundation for the discussion we want to have. Does anyone have any challenge with what we've gone through? Is it rocket science to anyone? Does it sound difficult? Does it? So you will discover that missions and every aspect of your life, if you can subject it to these principles, you will achieve more in all you do. Do you agree with me? One challenge we have is that we do not take time to plan. You know something about planning? Planning is bringing something that may even happen years away to today. You bring it to what? To now. And you begin to what? Give enough thought to how you can achieve what will happen even years, 10 years. If you see organizations, they have long-term plan. You will see they have like 15 years plan. They're already thinking 15 years ahead. Nations that know what they ought to be doing, they have rolling plans that could even extend to 20, 30 years away. The first time man went to the moon, the president of the US then, John F. Kennedy, right? If I'm not mistaken, he gave a charge. He gave what? A charge. People, nations, individuals, you may have a 3-year plan, you may have a 5-year plan, you may have a 15-year plan, 20-year plan, whichever. But what you are trying to do is to bring to today so that you can influence the outcome of what you want to achieve, years away. It's the same thing with missions. It's the same thing with what? With missions. So you can sit down and give enough thought and planning, subject it to these principles. When you look at the 9 areas we are talking about, you'll be able to get that very clear. Good. So now, I want us to look at the 5 phases. The 5 what? Phases of project management. The 5 what? Phases of project management. Now, looking at those 5 phases, you will discover that every project goes through this life cycle. Number 1 is initiating. Is what? Initiating. You must initiate a project. Number 2 is what? Once you've initiated the project, you begin to plan how to deliver that project. You've initiated a mission. You have conceptualized in your mind that, look, we want to go on this mission. What is next? You begin to do what? Planning. When you finish planning, you go into what? Execution. And after execution, while you are executing, you must be monitoring and controlling the project so that it will not go out of what? It will not be derailed. It will not go out of course. You say you want to build a Mercedes, you shouldn't end up building a B2 car, right? If you want to build a B2, you know the B2 car now first. So you said Volkswagen, that small. If that's what you want to build, fine. But don't say you want to build a Mercedes, then you end up building a B2. Have you achieved the objective? It is monitoring and control that does that for us. Right? Then finally, you have what? Closing. So how many phases, no matter how complex a project is, whether you want to take man to the moon, you are building an aeroplane, you are whatever, what is the most complex project you can think of? It goes through these 5 what? These 5 stages. It goes through these 5 what? Stages. Now, we talked about initiating the project. That's when you first of all conceptualize the concept of what you want to do. Right? Then you have a charter. What they call a project what? Charter. If now, can somebody just stand up, let's illustrate? So let's say now that Daddy is the sponsor of the project, right? And I am the project engineer. He would charter me. He would what? A document that authorizes you to go ahead with that project. The document will define what the objective of the project is. It will identify the risk. It will list the key resources. It will put what they call milestones. Whichever way, it will charter the project team. So that is the first phase. Project has been initiated and what? Chartered. Right? Are we good with that? Are we good with that? The next thing is what? Is planning. We talk about what breakdown structure. You break it down into discrete achievable what? Steps. You cannot achieve any project by just doing it whole. When they were building here, for instance, there was an aspect of the project that had to do with landscaping. Right? There was an aspect of the project that had to do with doing the foundation. Right? There was an aspect that had to raise it to DPC. There's an aspect that I said, take it to the roofing level. There's an aspect of the project that is do the noggin or roofing, right? You break everything down into discrete and measurable steps. Once you do it that way, at this planning phase, you will have more control on how you achieve your goal. Then you go into what? Execution. And we know what it is to execute a project. Is there any execution? You are carrying out the real work, right? You are carrying out the what? The real work. But I know that in the Tower of Babel, for instance, when God confused the language of man, right? They were speaking one language, right? Then God said, let's confuse the language. And he did that. So, by the time I'm telling him, please bring the mortar, it's a different thing he understands. Right? So, what I'm trying to say is this, that in every project team, in a mission, the objective must be clear. These people involved must be aligned to that objective. They must be what? Aligned to that objective. Your communication must be clear. Communication is very important. It's a two-way thing. It must be what? Clear. And we are aligned to the objective. You continue to monitor the project. That this is what we say we will do. It doesn't mean that when you say this is what we will do, it's not possible to change it. That's an aspect they call agile project management. It is possible to make some changes when in reality you are seeing a different aspect that will probably derail your objective. So you can tweak, but there has to be broad stakeholders what? Alignment and agreement on it. Then when you are done with the project, what do? You close the project. In closing the project, you do look back. You do what? Look back. What are the things we got right in this project? What are the things that we got it right to? When anytime we are doing more of this project, we reinforce that thing we did. We got it right. What are the things we didn't get right? So the next time, these were the reasons why we didn't get it right. So next time, we will address this in the subsequent project. That is how people improve, organizations improve. You see Toyota as a company. Toyota is not the first car company in the world. Toyota is not the first car company in the world, but they overtook everybody because they had the principle. Kaizen Bliss, continuous what? Improvement. You learn from a past project, you take all the lessons, you develop, measures out of that and you implement in your next project. Most organizations in the world, the big organizations, that's what they do. Continuous what? Improvement. As an individual, if you seek to continuously improve on the things you do, you will be at the very best. You will be at the very top of your game. Same thing applies to missions. If you seek to improve continuously, you will see that you will deliver more effective results in subsequent what? Missions. Are we good? Now let me just say a little about what they call the RACI. That RACI is just the RACI. I want to direct you to that. Look at the table at the other end. What does the arrow stand for? Okay, you can't see it. The arrow stands for what? Responsible. So by the time you have developed all the different aspects of the project, you will assign the different aspects to different people. This is what a RACI does. Now, you identify who is responsible. This particular step, we got to the point we said roof the house. Will you bring the bricklayer to come and roof the house? Who is responsible for roofing the house? So you say carpenter is responsible, right? But the carpenter who is coming to the site to do the work, maybe he has a boss or maybe a company that he gave that to. Who is accountable? It is that boss. The boss that who is accountable ensures that who is responsible does what he is supposed to what do. I don't know if I'm communicating. Somebody is responsible if they want to do the work. The person who is accountable is not necessarily the one to do the work, but he has the responsibility to ensure that that work is done as at when it should be what? Done. There is C, who is to be consulted. Who is to be what? Consulted. No one project engineer. There's only one that I know, but I will not mention it. No one project engineer knows everything. There are people you will consult to make input into the success of that project. They are not responsible. They are not accountable. But their technical know-how, their expertise needs to what? Come in as input into what? Into that project. Right? So it's to be consulted. And those who need to be informed. So all the stakeholders you see here, you break them into this category and you use this RACI to know the level of engagement you'll be having with all the what? Stakeholders. Does it make sense? Yeah. There was one project they were doing. You will not believe it because I just mentioned stakeholder and my mind flashed to something. They were identifying stakeholders for that project. Now, that project was going to pass an area where you have frogs. You have a teeming population of frogs. Those frogs became stakeholders because to successfully manage that project, they needed to figure a way not to disrupt the ecosystem in that place. Now we come to one key aspect. We are talking about what? Scheduling. We are talking about what? Scheduling. After you've broken down all the work, you will now schedule the work. You will now do what? Schedule the work. This aspect is very crucial. It's very what? Crucial. We said a project is time bound. Did we not say so? It's time bound. If you don't schedule well, you will never achieve your objective. So every task you have in that project, you put all the tasks, you've identified all the tasks, right? You will discover that some of them, they can start at the same time. They can what? Start at the same time. That relationship is start to start. Start to what? These are two different activities, but they can start at the same what? Time. There is also another type of relationship that a particular activity or task has to finish before another one starts. I'll give you an example. Yeah, I'll give you an example now. Look at this hall we are in, right? Will you paint this wall without first of all screeding it? So the relationship between screeding the wall and painting the wall is what? Finish to what? Start. Are you getting what I'm saying? So which two activities, assuming you are building this hall, that can happen at the same time? Start to start. I just want us to really get this. We are trying to break this down that we know. Which two activities do you think that you want to build this hall that can start at the same time with another activity? Thank you. You see, so I'm even surprised. Even our ladies, they are so sharp these days. Oh. So those activities can start at the same time. Start to start. Once you do the foundation and you begin to raise the blocks, right? You begin to raise the blocks. Let's say for instance, they have put roofing. They begin to tile. You will know that some of these activities, some must finish before some others can start. However, there are the ones that you can start at the same time. So that's the, okay, we've talked about finish to start. We've talked about what? Start to start. Where we are talking about finish to finish. You will also identify those activities. Remember, you've listed them. Let's say there are like 50 activities. You also identify the ones that must finish to finish. What do I mean? They don't need to start at the same time. They don't need to what? Start at the same time. However, they need to finish at the same time. They need to what? Finish at the same what? Time. Then you finally come to the start to finish. In other words, task B, for instance, cannot finish until task A what? Starts. You identify all of these relationships. When you identify them, let me give you an example here. A new shift must start before the previous shift can end. Let's take a project that they are working 24 hours. You have night crew, you have what? Day crew, right? Because you want to reduce the time to finish that what? Project. Do you get what I'm saying? A project where they are working, you have two sets of workers, crews. Some are working during the day, some are working during the night. And a project that you have one set of workers working daytime, which one will last longer? The one working day and night, will it last longer, or it will be finished in a shorter time? It will be finished in a shorter time. And that's what we all want. We want our projects to finish in what? In a short time. So that's just the example that the crew who are working at night, let's say that's the crew working at night, then you have the crew working at day. The question now is, before the crew working at night will take over, the crew working at day must finish their work, right? That is one kind of the relationship. So by the time you do all of these, you will now have a project completely lined up that you will now know the resources, the number of people to employ to make sure you follow this what? This schedule and deliver your project successfully. The same thing applies to our missions. The same thing what? Applies to our missions. We just need a methodology. Now, if you look at, I don't know, maybe whether we should turn off some of the lighting so that you can really see clearly what some of the lighting in the room. You will see clearly. I really wish to step away from here to put. Good. So I just hope that when I step this way, when I step this way, you can see me better. If you look at, it looks like I can't step away from here. I said I can't step away from you, otherwise my audio. Is that? Yeah, but okay for the online. So I can go ahead. Thank you. I think I'll be more effective this way. So now let's take a look at this chart. Don't be confused. Don't be what? Confused. Even if you've not seen this before, there's no big deal about it. It is just information that they put here. You see, we look at all the relationship start to start. Are you seeing it? So the two projects, look at that. The first one where you see that arrow, they are starting at the same time. Are you seeing it? Yeah. You must identify all of them if you want an effective schedule. If you want an effective what? Schedule. You identify all the tasks. All these ones are tasks or activities, right? You identify all of them in their relationship. At the end of the day, if you see this project, it will go and just show you the way you have to execute it. I need 10 mason for this job. I need 3 carpenter. This, when you do all of this, it will clearly show you what you need to achieve that project, right? It will clearly show you what you need to achieve that project. So this is just a Gantt chart. You can see there showing the week 1, week 2, week 3, what should be done. as at the day they brought out this report, this is today. If you look at the very first activity, activity A, you will see where it is. It's at 75% complete. It's at what? 75% complete. Activity A. If you look at activity B, it is what? Activity B is 67% complete. So all of the activities, that is how you'll be tracking and reporting them. Now look at the very topmost bar that you are seeing. How many percent do you have there? 57%. That is the overall of your project. Because you are tracking all the little parts, it will roll up. It will what? Roll up and give you an overall, which is at 57%. So this is just a Gantt chart. I just want to try and remember what our pastor said that about children. That you people talk too much. You talk too much. Just give us one small video. We'll see everything. This is what it is. You don't need to come and blow grammar, this. Just looking at this, it tells you the status of all the activities that you need to achieve your project and where they are at. I don't know if this makes sense to us clearly. So that's just what it tells us. This is just another form of displaying the Gantt, showing all of the what? Activities. Showing all of the what? Activities. Now we'll be looking at some of the tools you need to execute your project. And one of those tools is called the S-curve. It's called the what? S-curve. It's called the what? S-curve. And this is an S-curve. You see this? This is also another S-curve. Remember, I told you we broke all the project into discrete measurable steps. If you look at this first one, what do you see here? It says mobilization. You know, our sister is very good at mobilizing, getting all the... When you say mobilizing now, you say, carpenter, I need... So you maybe award that aspect to a company that wants to provide the carpentry work, right? You mobilize them, they come to site. Is it not so? That's what mobilization is. Before they even start digging or what have you excavating, you mobilize the people that will come and do all of those parts. So when you mobilize all your workers, I want to ask one question. If you did not break down your project to know the number of resources you will need to execute that project, I'm sure you will mobilize the whole of Ibadan to come and do the project. Will it be effective? So you need the right number of people, and it is only by giving a conscious thought to it that will enable you know the right thing to put on the project to deliver it. Now, when you look at this, everything here you see diversion stage, foundation grouting, dam concrete, install outlet, this, every part is broken down. This is like your WBS. When you go to like say, let's say foundation excavation now, that is a line item, like a milestone. Like a what? A milestone. It has other little elements when you really go into the schedule, right? But when you see here now, they put this Gantt chart on the schedule so that you can see clearly the way it affects your what? Schedule. I just want to say a little thing here. What do you see here? Original plan. This is the original plan. This orange color, right? I don't know whether it's orange you are seeing. So this orange color is the original plan that you planned. How? This is progress, and you are reporting the percentage. This is the original plan to the end of the project. As you begin to execute the project, this is what? Your actual. This is what? Your actual. What does this tell you? There's a variance between the original plan and the what? There's a variance. It means you are not progressing the way you should progress on this project. You are not what? Even God would check if things are going according to plan. So when you discover you are not making this progress, what do? You recalibrate. You what? And this is what you have here. They made a new forecast to be able to meet up this project line. a new forecast. And that new forecast may mean after you recalibrate, you see, okay, I think I need to put four more masons on this job. Otherwise, we are already off course. We need to put 2 more carpenters. So, in the mission field, for instance, if you are really measuring and tracking your progress, you will know when to tweak things to make sure you meet the original what? Objective. It is said that what gets measured, what gets what? Measured, gets done. Gets what? Done. Anything you do not measure, it may not be done. And in the reality of life is that most of us, we don't measure. That's why we keep on procrastinating. We keep on what? Procrastinating. Even this conference we had today, a lot of planning went into it, and we applied project management principles to make it a success. So there are moments you discover that you are off course. What do? You calibrate and do that. So that just is S-curve. Let nobody get, just S-curve. Now, this is a dashboard. This is what? A dashboard. In the dashboard, you have everything listed there that okay, look at the key objective of this project, key analysis, this is the budget, these are the potential risks, and these are the action plan. Whichever key information that your stakeholders need, like a coffee pot. Like a what? Coffee pot. Looking at it like this, you don't need to come and write a 1,000-page essay. You don't need to come and write a 1,000-page essay. Some of us are very good at writing, especially the older generation. They can write and write and write. But the question is, like we were told earlier this morning, the younger generation says what? Just give us more video. So this dashboard, it will just tell your leadership, your management, whoever are the sponsors of that project, looking at it like this, they know what is happening on ground. They know what is what? Happening on ground. They know whether we are on course. Hey, if you need more resources, they will see and be able to inject more resources. When you are requesting for budget to do something, they know that this is an area, an action plan area that we need to what? We need to address. So basically, right? Okay, so this is a risk matrix. You say what? Risk matrix. Forget about the grammar. All you want to try and do is to put in very pictorial form the risk. It's a tool. You need to look at all the risk involved with your project and you begin to rank them. You begin to what? Rank them. That is your, when any, okay, let's look at, who can see the very first one there? The very first, this, no, on this likelihood. Likelihood. Because there are 2 things you look at in risk. Likelihood. Then you look at what? Potential consequences. Yeah. So let me just say something, then you look at the likelihood. What is the probability that this thing will happen? That likelihood include whatever has happened in the world in that kind of project. That is the experience you bring come here when you're assessing what is the likelihood that it will happen. If it is 0, it's not a concern. Do you get what I'm saying? It's little or no concern. But assuming they were doing this project in Japan, so thing happened. They were doing this in this same thing happened. What the probability is what? Higher. What do? You and your team will pay more attention to it. So it helps you do that ranking. Then you look at the consequence. The consequence is what is the cost when that thing happens? The cost could be in terms of human life, which is the greatest. You want to deliver your project and do it safely. If the consequence is so high and you factor it, it means that you will need to do a lot of planning to mitigate that consequence, especially when it falls in this red area. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's not, just for us to have the understanding. You do all the way you have to risk manage every aspect of your project. Gone are the days that people go for projects, they are executing projects, even if 10 people die, it's not anything. Especially for people who have little or no value for life. I can tell you, if you have any of these blue chip companies or whatever you see, if they are doing, they roll out their annual reports that this year, 5 people died in our operations. The investors, the what? Investors. They are not, the investors are not the people, the people who are really rich, they are the investors. Right? Are we in agreement? The investors, there are people you don't see, but their money is what is in that business. Let me tell you, if you are killing too many people in your project, like an organization reporting, they track all these things. They repair several debts. Investors will pull their funds and go to another. It's a factor they also consider. You don't go and kill people in projects. That's why you need to use the right tools to ensure you deliver safely on your project. It is the biggest, that safety is actually the biggest aspect of any project or organization. What is onions? So that said, I want us to have a very serious discussion. When this assignment was given to me, actually, it was very at short notice. I said, what am I going to tell my brothers and sisters? But I accepted it without even having anything in mind. When I started, when I now sat down to say, what do I really do about this? Certain thoughts started flowing. And I saw things like I've never seen before from a new dimension. And I want us to just look at this. For me, this is the most important slide we'll be talking about. If you have your Bible here, please just open to the book of Genesis chapter 1. Ken Blanchard said that none of us is as smart as all of us. And that's why I want us to have this discussion. We laid the foundation for what project is, and I want to ask you, who do you think is the greatest project engineer? The greatest project manager is God. He was the greatest, he still remains the greatest, and will ever remain the greatest project manager. And I want you to see this. Maybe you see this scripture from a different perspective that could really motivate you in every other aspect of, your life after we leave this conference. Now look at Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. In any project, you start with the end in mind. Start with the end in what? In mind. In Genesis 1, if you read your Bible, it said, in the beginning, God what? Created. So God was before that beginning. Do you agree with me? He was before that what? Beginning. He started with the end in mind before he started creation. God already knew what he wanted to do before he started what? Creation. In the original Hebrew scripture, that word, which we translate to in the beginning God created, is actually Bereshit bara Elohim. Elohim is plural. It's what? It's plural. You will discover. He said, and the earth was tohu vabohu. That's the original Greek Hebrew which we translated to the earth was without form and what? And void. Formless. So after God initiated the project, sure, we talked about project initiation. So after God initiated the project, before the initiation, he had thought about what he wanted to achieve. God had thought about what he wanted to what? Achieve. He initiated the project. After he initiated the project, heaven and earth created, but formless. But what? Formless. Without form. Shapeless. Utter darkness, such that you and I have never seen the kind of darkness at this time. And what did he do? He said, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of who? Of God. We've seen one. The first time we saw God, now we are told about who? The Spirit. So even God collaborated within himself. Some of us, we are so knowledgeable that we can do it all alone. Change your approach to life, to your projects. Collaborate. Get the required experts. Get the required opinion. Yes, there are people you may have to consult. Do you get the point I'm making? There are people you may have to consult. So get the required, you can see it, the Spirit of God was involved here in creation. But when you read from Genesis 1 to the end, you may not see one other participant in the creation story. This I call project creation. Project what? Creation. It has a beginning and it has an end. In John 1 to 3, he said, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God, and all things were made by him, and without him was anything made that was what? That is the third person involved in creation. Nothing was made without him. So even creation, God that is all-powerful, all-knowing, it wasn't only the Father who was involved in creation. The Spirit was involved, and the Son was also what? Involved. Let's learn this in approaching life. I would skip some other things here, but look at what happens in verse 3. There has been planning, there have been initiation, they have been planning, but look at what happens. And God said, let there be what? That is execution. That is what? That's execution. It's one of the phases of what? Of project management. That's execution. Now, when we go down, you will see steps. Execution was happening. If you come down to verse 21, and God created great whales and living creatures that moved, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every wind fowl after his kind. And God saw that it was what? And God saw that it was what? It was good. So while God was executing, he was also monitoring and controlling. Did you see that? Did you see that? After every day's work, he comes to what? Evaluate. And he says, yes, this is in alignment with what? My intention. Don't just run into a project, a mission, without doing what? Evaluation. Without doing what? Evaluation. Don't just do that. And I would tell you why. Because we were created in his what? Image and likeness. If you adopt the principles of God, you will be excellent in all that you do. So you can see why I am convinced beyond reasonable doubt that before Genesis 1 verse 1, God planned all he wanted to do. God did what? He planned all he wanted to do. Look at what he says in verse 26. And God said, this is the crown of his creation. This is the crown of his what? Creation. Before God would create that crown called man, God made sure. That is why you will see, this is confirmation of the planning. God made sure that everything that man needs was in place before he brought man into the picture. Separating the waters, creating herbs and vegetation, creating animals, that is what we all need to live in this what? In this space, in this planet. So God, before he created man, that you see in verse 26, that says, and let us make man our own image, after our likeness. You would see clearly that God had a clear plan before he started his what? Creative work. Always have a plan. Always have what? Always apply project principles in your personal affairs, in your official responsibilities, be it for mission or whatever it is, always have that at the back of your mind. Look at again in verse 31. And God saw that everything he had made, it was what? It was what? It was good. That is only what control, monitoring will tell you. That is the outcome of control and monitoring. If it is not good, he will make an adjustment. God has had to make adjustment when man fell. Right? Is that not correct? So, now, let's look at Genesis 2, verse 2. He has started, by the time you get to 31, everything was good. Now, look at Genesis 2. And on the seventh day, God ended his work, which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had what? Made. God was closing the project. God was what? We said a project is a what? Temporary what? Endeavor to deliver a unique what? Product or service. God's unique product was man. And all that preceded the creation of man was to deliver that project. After that was accomplished, what did he do? God rested. He did what? He rested. So even project management principle was instituted by who? By God. He closed the project. He closed the what? The project. So project creation, after closing it, was turned over to what? Operations. So we run, and God said, man, take charge. What did God say? Take charge. He's done the project. He gave man the charge. And that is why we are in operations, but our defective nature will not allow us run things the way God had what? Purposed it. So basically, do I still have any time, please? 1 minute. All right, so let me sign off at this point. But I just want us to challenge ourselves. Let's take these principles. Let's know that created in God's image, we should replicate that in every other thing that we do. So I will stop here. This is critical part. I wanted to, like when you line up all your projects, there are certain activities. Once you miss it, the project will be extended. You need to know all those activities. Any activity that has zero float, slack. In other words, this activity, we say when we are doing the roofing, it's going to take us 5 days. And you now do that activity to take you 6 or 7 days. What will happen? You've extended the project by what? There are activities like that. So what project management does is identify all the activities in the critical part. In the what? Critical part. That part, that anything that shifts the project is called the what? Critical part. No floats. That activity has no float. It has no slack. What do you do as a project manager? You make sure that the activities on that critical part, you are eyeballing it, following it everywhere to make sure you don't what? You don't extend the project. So that is just what the critical part talks about. There are some, when you really want to practice, there are some calculations you use to do that. And these are just a template for you to manage your stakeholders. There are some stakeholders who are high power, high interest. High power, low interest, low power, high interest, low power, low interest. If you want to manage these stakeholders, which one will you pay the most attention to? Just look at it quickly. High power what? Because you could be fired from your project by these people, the high power people there and the high interest. You closely manage them. You closely what? So a wise project manager would make sure you identify your stakeholders and categorize them. You should know who falls in that category. You should know those you keep satisfied. You should know those you keep what? Informed. This is a case study, but time time will not permit us, because I'd wanted a missionary here to just open up a little conversation. Then we will take it over.
He has been trying to bribe him, but I'm still considering. But let's have 5 more minutes.
Oh, you are so gracious. God bless you. Thank you. So these 5 minutes, I want a missionary here. Can a missionary just use 2 minutes to share an experience with us? When you want to start. Do I have any missionary here? Yes. Okay. Who am I? No, yeah. So, like, you want to any of the projects you handle in mission, just share something. Any. Okay. Project preaching station. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
I start from initiating, where you consider a location where there are people who are not Christians, who do not know the plan and purpose of God for their salvation. And then you visit, do a survey, and then the stages of the planning. You will know you need to visit the place, know the kind of people that are there, maybe their language. If you will need to get somebody to speak to them in another language, or get one of them who understand your own language. And then there's need to arrange a program of sharing the gospel with them, probably using the Jesus film. And where there is response, arrange to begin to gather them to teach until they have some understanding, and make them to know that they need even to come together. And it could be just even under the shade of a tree or in the front of somebody's house. And as they grow, you lead them to begin to think of maybe they can have a better place to gather, and begin to teach among them somebody who will be able to lead them, such that even when you will go or when you will move somewhere else, there will be a continuity.
Just like God gave man all that he created, you look for somebody that would what? Continue that continuity.
Yes.
Thank you so much, sir. God bless you, sir. So we see very clearly here, as he was giving those narratives, you could see the project management principles. What we need to do going forward, maybe you want to re-examine all of your strategy and subject them to these principles that can help you improve and achieve better results when next you are maybe opening up a preaching station. So basically, that is that aspect. The other aspect we wanted to just look at, in Nigeria here, we have challenge with refinery. Is that correct? We have 4 refineries in the country, but none is what? Working. And why? Because of what they call turnaround. The turnaround they've done in the refineries, they are not what? Successful. Which means we are not really following the project management principle that will deliver very good results for us. I don't want to go beyond the 5 minutes. Not Oliver Twist who will ask for more. But I would have dealt more justice to this to just help us understand this. But when you follow the principles, normally you want to do turnaround, you are looking at what? Improving. What do I say? Improving operational efficiency by 15%. If you have a refinery running and you want to do turnaround on it, one of the average goals is to make sure that you improve the performance of that what facility, that refinery, as much as what 15%. Lofty goal, but it doesn't happen in the examples we just mentioned. So we need to go back to the drawing board. Once man has conceived it, it is not impossible for him to what? To achieve. Because even God said that now that they have conceived it, what will happen? Let's have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alex. That was a brilliant presentation. Can we just give it to you one more time? Now, I would also be gracious to give 5 more minutes for questions. And can we please see our beautiful audience at the other side, the Musa Hall? Let's see them on screen so that we don't call them out. Yes, there's a camera there. So can we see them, please? Thank you. So that they can be part of this presentation. So do you have a question in this hall? Mr. Chris, do you still have a question or has he attended to it? Yeah, okay, good. So let's see our beautiful and handsome audience at the other side. Now we see that we are getting to learn a lot. Oh, good. Hello. Can you say hi? Those from Musa Hall. Oh, good. Say hi to them. Do we have anyone with question over there? Okay, no. You have a question? Okay. All right. Any other person with question? Question will not beget questions. Okay, 1 and 2. All right, let's take that and then we'll move.
Okay, thank you, sir. Session was really wonderful. My question is, let me introduce myself. I'm Victor David. I work with Calvary Ministries Capro in Niger State. So my question has to do with church planting and church planting. So church planting in your settings. For example, I work in a Muslim setting. Okay, so our work is sometimes underground, and apart from that, it's usually long term. It's not a place where you just go and just start church in 1 year. So it takes us sometimes to start up a church in a community can take us 6 years, can take us 5 years. So in relation to managing project like that, church planting is a long-term project and it's a spiritual project. You're not even sure when you come back to start. So how do you monitor such a thing? I know in our field we have operational plans, we have that, but I don't know if there are specific ways to make it more realistic, even as we are praying, trusting God, doing learning language and getting access to people. So is there something that can be done, especially in the area of missions? A long-term project like that, how do you monitor it to the point of implementation?
Implementation and execution. Thank you very much. So let's take the second question so you can just attend to them together.
My question is also in line with his own. When we look at the APOC, the 9 things that we listed earlier, I was able to see that just like what he made mention of, that the second and the third usually affect the project at times, because in the area where we are working, I'm also working in Niger State. I'm a Baptist missionary in Niger State, Shiroro local government. And what I see there is that at times you may have a kind of project that you want to execute, but the time, you may have a kind of a time frame, but as a result of insurgency, you have to pause it, and which also affects the cost. You have a particular, okay, this project will take by the range of 2 to 3 million naira, you'll be able to complete it. But now with the insurgency and the economy that we are running now, it's also affecting it. Before you know it, when we got to our the mission field 2019, we have a project that we are trusting God to complete. At that time, it's not to 5 million naira. But now, if we want to complete it, 20 million naira, will not be able to complete it. Time and the cost. And due to the kind of environment, what is happening in the environment do affect the project at times. At times, it may seem that one is not even serious, but not. But due to one is facing.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay. So, Mr. Alex, do you still remember the first question?
Yes.
Okay.
I think I do.
How do we monitor?
I think I do. Without any prejudice, let me attempt the second one. I think that's the easier one, right? So our brother rightfully identified that time and cost can affect the outcome of our project. And even the example he shared tells you the importance of monitoring. Of what? Monitoring. When you plan a project, all of the key information on that project, this project, we are going to deliver it in 2 years' time, let's say, for instance, right? All of that information, when you save it, it's called a baseline. It's called what? A baseline. So once you have taken time to look at all the project and define it clearly, you save that one as your what? Your baseline. Every other measurement you will make will be against the what? Baseline. Now that baseline may involve costs. It may involve what? Time. Just like you said, maybe when next you are planning the project, look at the risk of insurgency. Look at the risk of what? Insurgency. And account for it in your planning. And account for it in your what? In your plan. Because that's a risk. Like I said, there are certain risks that can even shut down a project. But if you are, what word do I use? You are oblivious to the risk. You didn't factor the risk from the beginning. When it comes, it will shock you. It will do what? It will shock you. So that's why projects, they benchmark, what they call they benchmark against similar projects. You go to lessons learned from similar projects, look at it, which one we apply to this project that could hurt the achieving the goal and objective of that project. I don't know if I was able to. Yes. All right, sir. Okay, thank you. So let's go to the first question. The first question borders on time. Correct me if are we aligned on that?
It's time and implementation, especially in their context.
Yes.
That they can't really. How do they really monitor and also evaluate their work based on long time, many time when.
Yeah. So this is what I would from the project perspective. This is what I would require of you and your team, right? Let's look at historical records. In the last, let's say, can we gather data for the past 10 years? For the past what? 10 years. And be able to determine this particular project, it took so number of years. This one, it took so number of years. So maybe some 4, some 7, some 5, some 3, right? If you gather that data, say like for a 10-year period, like you have that information, you can take an average value. And that would give you the probable time for your projects. I don't know whether you get what I'm saying. The fact, what I'm asking is not just your own experience, but that's where technology comes in. That some of all this information, like we have in certain parts of our country, we could pull all those information, that people can mine, collect the information, and begin to do better planning with it. So look at all of the information you can gather for like a 10-year period.
see the average time those projects were rounded up. Then you will be able to give a good assessment when next you want to face a project, that this project is going to take so number of time. That's an idea. But we know this is spiritual. What applies to one may not necessarily apply to the other. But we want to leverage, we want to use the tools that we have and make the best judgment. The second aspect to this is the monitoring and control. Okay, so this is a long-term project. It's a 5-year project, for instance. You establish your monitoring for your key activities, and where you see from the outcome, each time, it's just that God is a perfect God. Each time, whatever he did not need any further improvement, but he still would review and give his verdict that it is what? It is good. So for us, when you monitor and you see that it is moving away from the parameters of success that you know, what you consider success, if it's moving away, that is when you will need to tweak it. It could even be funds because of the long period. If maybe you didn't assess the funds properly, that this is what it is going to take because of that long period, then what will be in your own planning, you must put contingency plan in place, how to get more funds when push comes to shove. I don't know if I was able to address an aspect of that. Thank you so much.
Thank you once again, Mr. Alex. God bless you, sir.